Hello. I can't believe I'm in the presence of wrestling royalty. Mickie James, how are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm really excited. I mean, this is the most excited I felt all day, and to have the honor and the privilege to speak to you, I feel so good inside. So, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
No problem. I mean, there's so much we can talk about, but let's just cut straight to it. So, I mean, firstly, what a welcome return home for you to Impact. With you and Deanna Perrazzo in the ring. I mean, your hardcore country theme music that you debuted all those years ago. I mean, it must feel full circle to be back at the place where you kind of pretty much started.
Well, yeah, I really did kind of pretty much start, if you think back all the way to their first ever pay-per-views and that Battle Royal, to the Clockwork Orange House of Fun matches with Jeff Jarrett and with Raven and CM Punk and Julio, and then to go away and become Mickie James at WWE, to then go back to be hardcore country Mickie James, and then back and then come back again. And I didn't know. I was like, oh, am I ever going to hear that hardcore country music again? But we sure did. And I
Well,
was like, oh, I miss this. I miss this music.
I mean, the fans have certainly missed it because, I mean, for the past year and a half, like we've had no fans at present. I mean, obviously, your experience in the WWE, like with the Thunderdome era, and obviously with no fans in other promotions. So, I mean, how does it feel to even see live fans in attendance? It must be so
Uh,
revigorating for you.
Night and day. What a blessing. And I didn't wrestle that much in the Thunderdome without the fans because I was injured for a fair amount of that time and were waiting to get cleared. And so I wrestled a few times, but the energy is just different. And I think obviously we feed off of the fans. We feed off of that energy and the reactions and stuff. And it really kind of helps us know that we're doing it right. So it's been a difficult, well, I would say it is difficult, but more of an interesting balance to kind of learn how to now still tell these stories without that immediate gratification from the fans to know.
Oh, they
So,
certainly appreciated you. Even that guy that was wearing the full green suit, I was thinking like, yeah, you definitely know that the fans will come back.
yeah, totally. The full
Crazy,
green
man.
suit.
Yeah, I mean, like I was just thinking, yep, the fans are full back in full swing. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of exciting stuff for you at the moment. I mean, obviously, like we just mentioned, your return to Impact, your program with Deanna Perrazzo. I mean, with Gail Kim and Melina just returning to the mix as well. I mean, you're working with NWA, like the women's pay per view Empowerrr coming up, and you co-promoting and a free agent as well. Like, woo, mind blowing to know all of that stuff for you. I mean, how does it feel now that you're the one that's in control and you're the one calling the shots compared to your times in WWE and even your first times in Impact and NWA?
I'm really excited to head up this pay-per-view. And as far as, say, oh, well, being in control, I am excited about being in control of my own destiny in the sense of, what I am doing and the story that I tell or whatever it is in wrestling from here on out. I'm really excited about that. And the women's division at NWA and just women's wrestling as a whole, obviously, is near and dear to my heart because it's what I've dedicated pretty much my entire career for as a whole. And so I think it's important, as for me, the next step is to try to find a way to give back in the right way and to help some of these new girls, give them a platform to break out and become stars and, level up. And hopefully we all level up in the process. But I'm excited to go back. I was excited to be able to work with Impact again and to help promote Empowerrr and to have Melina step out on the Impact ring for the very first time ever,
Wow.
and going for the Knockouts Championship. That's the first time she's ever went for the Knockouts Championship. So it's all kind of like these things. And then, the stuff with Camille and Layla Hirsch on AEW, and now having Red Velvet and Kylan King as a tag team, and the tag teams, like there's all these things at play that are happening. And it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see everyone come together for this moment, for this pay-per-view, but for the business of women's wrestling, like to lift everyone up and go like, what, we do care and this is important and we want you all to shine. And that makes me feel good. It makes me feel good about wrestling.
I bet it does. I mean, was this something that you were conscious of, like during your time in the WWE, that you wanted to have that sort of way about it. But obviously, you know, being a talent, there might have been maybe a few more restrictions, maybe in terms of what could be navigated. So do you feel like doing this now is just like a sense of relief that I can actually do this as a solo project and work with these, you know, upcoming talents, especially women talents that are killing it right now?
Yeah, I think that, you know, how far women's wrestling has come as a whole, even in the last 5 to 10 years, last decade, and to finally start getting the acknowledgement that I think that it deserves, and I'm so happy to see it. But at the same time, I do think, obviously, when I was still there at WWE, I was still very much a wrestler, and I had done some agent stuff behind the scenes and tried on those boots. But I think my whole hope was to be able to come back and do whatever that final kind of cool moment to hang my hat on, and then hopefully transition. And I always felt, obviously because I love women's wrestling so much, I always felt like my right place would be to try to help within that, the women's division as a whole. And I obviously was, it would have been cool. It would have been cool for this and that. And we have a million ideas, and I really wanted to do it, and it just didn't work out. And that's okay, because now I have a way to be able to do it and just set it up and see what happens. And maybe they were right. Maybe I'm right. I kind of feel like I'm right.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I mean, you're in the right direction and going that full mode now, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and I never want to take away, because I was so honored to be a part of Evolution. I think that everyone presents their women very well in those moments, but it's just that you know, within 3 hours, there's only limited time for the women, and I just feel like there's a way to cater to that audience specifically. And with this platform, hopefully we can start to do that. And if this is the first of many things to come, that for me, I think is really going to help elevate, you know, everyone, not just women wrestling, but everyone across the board, and just kind of move a little pawns around and stuff. So we'll see.
And you know, you definitely seem like an ambassador for this whole thing. So, you know, you could be the catalyst for all this change to happen and to make it better for, you know, not just women, like you said, but for the wrestling world as a whole.
Yeah, well, I can't do it by myself, clearly.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, obviously, I think that's why it was so important that I picked you know, an incredible team to be around. Yeah, I wanted Jazz there because I love and I respect Jazz's opinion so much. I think what Medusa has done in the industry alone, and her like constant, you know, desire to make positive changes, it's so impactful, and I'm honored to have her there. And Gail Kim, what she's been able to do with the Knockouts division and just kind of everything over there, like, it speaks volumes. And I think that you need the right people in those places to help kind of the same team, same dream, same goals sort of thing. So
yeah, I remember chatting with Chris Van Vliet, because I've interviewed him twice, and one of his mottos is always vague goals get vague results. So I mean, in your case, like, that's definitely goals that you're pushing for, and it's already materializing. So, you know, congratulations for making the start of that.
Excited. Thank you.
No, for sure. And I mean, no, for sure. And speaking of women empowerment, you know, I wanted to talk about your YouTube channel, Grown Ass Women. You know, yes, with Lisa Marie, So-Called Valerie. What a really cool show. I mean, like, you're definitely an ambassador for women empowerment. I mean, a lot of your guests are women, ones that are killing it, like, not just in wrestling, but in other ways of life as well. I mean, my favorite episode was of Chris Van Vliet wearing a onesie. So with that, that's just life achieved.
So great. Great. I love Chris so much. Yeah, you know what it was is, obviously we were in the middle of a pandemic. We're all bored out of our minds sitting at home. I think we all separately had talked about, hey, let's do this thing, and let's do a podcast, or let's do this other thing. And my whole idea was, and obviously this was across the board, of like, okay, well, how do we do it? And how do we make it different than every other interview that's the same questions or the same thing? Like, honestly, I feel that the fans really want to know who we are on the other, like, in a cool way. I always said our show is kind of like if we had just gotten back to our hotels from the show, we were sitting back and just chit-chatting. That is the conversation that you're getting. It's like not locker room talk, it's back at the hotel around the fire pit talk.
Right. So the aftermath of, like, you know, your matches that have happened, and then you're back in Gorilla, then you're back at the hotel.
Yeah, and it's not always just wrestling talk, which is the cool, because I
Mm,
think that our fans get a chance to like really understand or have different see a different side of us that they don't see necessarily
mm.
in the ring. And yeah, and every guest that we've had, like they're always, this is like such a cool show. This was so fun. Time flies by because we're just having casual. It's literally just us catching up and saying, and the fans I think really love it, and it's been doing really well.
And
It
this,
just
and
started as like a fun thing, and now look at it go. It's grown legs. It's a
I mean,
podcast.
yeah, you've been doing this for about a year now. I mean, if you've even got
Yeah,
Patreon, you got people like going into your Zoom parties as Patreons, you've even got merch.
yeah.
So, I mean, who would have thought? Like,
Who have merch?
yeah, no, for
Oh,
sure. So, I mean,
yeah.
what are the next stages for you as far as the channel? Because I'm thinking maybe go internationally with it, like, go abroad with it as like I don't know, for example, you come into the UK and doing a podcast over on our
I
side.
would
Like,
love that. Well, and obviously that was kind of what the idea was at first, was because we have such different schedules that we would be able to, as we're traveling and as we could take our fans with us to Val is in Paris right now and do kind of like an episode from Paris. And if we're ever
nice.
together, like, it's just been hard, obviously, because there's no one's been traveling a lot. Like I'm going to Maine this weekend. Is it, where am I going? The Astronomicon this weekend.
Okay.
So I'm going out there. It's not, I don't think it's in Maine, but I should know this. I should know where I'm going. I
Yeah,
literally
you should
fly
check
out
your
tomorrow.
IG just to make sure.
It's like, I know it's the Astronomicon. I'm like, is it in Detroit? Uh,
People
it
will
doesn't
know.
matter.
They'll find out on your socials anyway. They'll know where
No,
to
I'm
come.
gonna tag it anyway. It's fine. But these are for some of the first events that I've done.
Wow.
And it's interesting because we all used to travel every single weekend somewhere, whether you're with a company or not. Most wrestlers are traveling every single weekend, and for the last however long, they just haven't been. So
Mm.
it's cool to get back and see the fans again.
I mean, in any which way, it's so lovely to even be out there. Even on our side, we're happy to even be out there right now. So we're just grateful to see that human interaction again. I mean,
Yeah.
this wouldn't be a Mickie James interview without at least me asking one question about you and Trish. Because, I mean, of course, everyone knows the storyline. Everyone knows what happened, WrestleMania, how that came about. But what I wanted to know was, who was the one that pitched the idea as far as that angle? Was it you? Was it Trish? Was it Vince? Like, how did that all play out?
I guess I mean, I've said this in interviews before, but I actually came up with that character and that, kind of storyline. I didn't necessarily write it for Trish because I didn't know Trish that well, and I would have been terrified at that moment to pitch it for her. It was definitely their idea to pitch it, to align it with Trish's character, but I had pitched that and wrote it actually out for Lita because, well, I'd gotten Lita's permission in the sense of like, hey, I have this really cool character concept and this idea, and can I pitch it with you in mind? And she was a heel at the time, so it really didn't make as much sense to do it with her.
Yeah, not with
But
two hill dynamics. Yeah.
right. But for me, I was like, I felt because I could ask her, and I just, there's certain protocols. You just don't go pitching yourself in an angle with the champ, without.
Without going to
But
the champ first.
I'm saying, hey, I have this thing. Maybe can we talk about right? But yeah, I was so blessed to get aligned with Trish as my intro because I had many false starts and I had pitched other stuff, and it was just really cool. And it was cool to be able to bring that character to life because I had drawn it out on paper and on my mind. I remember when I sent in that pitch, I think I sent in like 18 weeks of television.
Wow.
Me and my creative brain thinking like this. We used some of the pieces in the bits along the way, but obviously once the character became there and it was
Mm.
James, there were so many players that made that between Trish and I's dynamic just being, we just could bounce off each other really well, and we just had a really cool dynamic on screen and off. And writers, Stephanie, I'm sure Vince, everybody had like their input into how to develop the story, and I'm so grateful for that because that's what made it magic, is all that time to
Mm.
build it, to build it, to build it, these like little things along the way. So,
and I mean, being it Magic, like, were you guys conscious of the fact that it would reverberate and impact to this day? Like, you know, with all the women wrestlers that are coming up to this point, did you think it would be as legendary as we see it today?
No, I had no idea. I had no idea what to think. You know, again, I had so many false starts. I had debuted on Sunday Night Heat and then got it pulled off of the like got it pulled from the thing. So I had zero. I remember that day that I was supposed to go out there. I purposely did not tell my parents until showtime, because I had told them before, like, oh, you know, these other times, like, oh, I think I'm going to debut tonight. And they would sat there and watch the whole show, and then I never came out. And I'm just like, oh.
So it was just best just to keep it quiet until you actually made that presence felt.
You really don't know what fans are going to gravitate to. You know, that whole thing could have went the other way, and the fans could have hated it. They didn't, thank God.
Well, thank goodness they didn't. They loved it.
Yeah, but they could have, and then that would have been a whole other thing. Just like I think of going, well, what if I had debuted with Punk and that would have been my debut? My career would have been completely different. The fact that I got aligned with Trish right out of the gate pretty much set the rest of my career up of always being in that top spot, you know.
And
except, you know.
Yeah, and of course, like, you still being friends to this day. I mean, you must have times where you reminisce and think like, shit, we actually did that.
Yeah, yeah. We almost have to because you get humbled so much, you know, and to where it's almost like not a forgotten, but just you get humbled in a sense, and we're so humble, I think, as performers, that we often downplay our successes, and you have to sometimes be reminded of going like, actually, that was a pretty cool freaking thing. And the amount of women, especially women in the industry today, that go like, that particular moment or that particular storyline, or even the storyline I did with Michelle and Layla, those type of things really resonated with a lot of people and made them fans, or made them fall in love with wrestling, or made them want to be wrestlers. And I never thought I would be in that position, because I was that little girl. I was the one hungry and trying to make it, going like, I want to be like the version of this, but then, and like, you have these people that you look to go like, I'm kind of crafting myself after that. Sherry was mine. To even Trish and Lita, because I was on the indie scene and I was seeing their successes, and I go like, okay, so what is it about them that the people are magnetized to? Like, it's those things. You got to stand out, you got to be different, you got to, you know, have your own thing instead of trying to be something else. You have to have your own thing. And so those are the people that you kind of look up to be. You have to surround yourself with people who are better than you to level up to them, you know. So,
and speaking of greatness, I mean, I want to touch on your music as well, because I mean, country music for me, I've only learned for the past couple of years. I mean, my best friend got me into like Florida Georgia Line and a bit of Johnny Cash. Yeah, so I mean, I was really into that. I mean, even the fact that what blows my mind is The Undertaker using Ain't No Grave at WrestleMania 27 as his theme, and I was really intrigued by the whole country music theme. I mean, you know, even going back to your first album, like Strangers and Angels back in 2010, and you've been consistent throughout this whole time. I mean, Hall of Fames, winning awards. It's so much goes on for you. I mean, how do you manage to mix the whole idea of your passions with music and wrestling? How did music come into the fray?
I think music was always in the frame in a sense. I played the violin, and I've always been a writer. I took creative writing and novel classes. What I didn't realize is that a lot of times I would be writing in lyrical form, and I think that especially when I was on the road a lot, my first run, my creative outlet, the way I would decompress a lot would be to write, and I found myself writing to melodies of either songs that were already on the radio or songs that I was kind of hearing in my head. And since I don't play anything anymore, I would always have to get with a guitarist friend of mine or somebody else to go like, I'm kind of hearing this, or piano player, or somebody that I could sit down and kind of bounce ideas off of and go like, I'm kind of hearing this, so this could fall in the pocket. It's just like a thing. And then I just wanted to record some of my own songs and was like, you know what, I've been writing all this stuff, I just want to try it. And that started in, I think I first came to Nashville with like this collection, like my little notebooks, which I could show you a stack of notebooks that I have over here. That is just nonsense. You go through it and you're like, what is all of this? But it's just ideas and but yeah, that probably started, I brought those to Nashville about 2008, 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of there, just kind of kept working with songwriters, and I'm still working with songwriters and learning. And but put my first album out, which was self-released, and then I got signed by a label and put out the second album. Somebody's gonna pay, with hardcore country on it, and then had Donovan and went to another label out of Grand Rapids that was more. They did more hip hop and R&B stuff.
Nice.
And that's how I got up with the Yin Yang Twins and was able to do that single with them and so it's just all these different things. And I like creating stuff that I like to listen to, and I like to write stuff that kind of has been from my personal life experience. And so it's fun for me. It's an outlet.
I mean, what would be your ultimate goal as far as like, when you hang up your boots for music, like where would you want to be musically? Where would you want to be as your ultimate goal?
Just to sell like at least a platinum record, 1 platinum record. No, I've done some cool things with music. I mean, I've opened for Rascal Flatts and Big and Rich, and I've opened for Gretchen. I've opened for all of these people. I've gotten to collab with some cool people. My latest single is out. I'm working on my new album that is all my original stuff, all stuff that I've written, which will be my first album of all original work. So I'm excited about that, and that's kind of, but everything is time, and
you've got a lot on at the moment. So I mean, like, you're a busy woman. I mean,
this last 2 months has been, everything has been empower to the point where I'm like, I have a match the next night, and I need to make sure that
you're prepped
against Kylie Ray, and Kylie Ray can go, and Mama needs to be able to go too.
I love it. Mama's got to go to work, baby. Like The Rock said in his movie, your daddy's got to go to work. Same for you. If you were to collab with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Musically?
Yes.
Or just in life? Oh God, Prince.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine, like, and then like, bringing your country flavor to it. It'd be so cool, man.
Yeah, I just think he's incredible. I mean, the fact that he just plays everything and writes everything, and just he was an amazing artist, and I think he was ahead of his time on a lot of things. And
no, I mean, that's awesome, man. Prince, I'd love to see that. I mean, if he was still alive. If you had a chance to talk to your 1999 self when you started your wrestling career as a valet in the independent circuit, would there be anything you would change in your career?
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, I mean, it would just be more of what I allowed to get to me. I think it would be more of that. Like, don't take things personal. And it's hard not to, because you're very passionate and you put a lot of love and passion into it. But don't take everything personal. Don't take it all so personal. Ooh. And maybe make a few better decisions.
Okay, that's definitely something I'm learning myself. Like, don't take things personal. Yeah. Sometimes I have a hard time taking things personal, but then I got to realize it's like, well, I mean, you can live another day and see another day, so it's not so bad in the end.
And when I say that, it's hard not to take certain things personal, but it's also like, you shouldn't allow people, especially if they have zero clue, you shouldn't allow you have power. The only thing you have power over is how it affects you, how you allow it to affect you. You know what I mean? And so as much as you allow things to affect you, that can either help you or stop you in your tracks of like what you're really going after, because then you put all this attention and all this focus on these things that at the end of the day, it's not even in line with where you're going. So
wow. I mean, that's a gem I'm definitely taking away. So thank you so much for that gem. I just have 2 fan questions for you before you go. They would kill me if I don't ask them to you. So the first one on Instagram is from VP7692, my guy Vishal. Sasha Banks or Charlotte, best of all time?
Oh my gosh. Sasha Banks or Charlotte, best of all time?
Yes. That's what you asked.
Neither.
I like that. I like that. As in, like, no, like, everyone's on equal playing field as far as, like, being the best out there.
There's me, and then there's everybody else. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like Mickie James, no one else.
Yeah, there's me, and then okay, they can come in second together. I love both these girls. They're incredible. No, I just think, it's hard to decide because I think that you're talking it's like comparing a banana to an apple. Like they're both
true,
amazing, and I think what makes them special is the fact that they are unique, but it's cool because they get their own group of core fandom. Yeah.
I mean, you're in a different league altogether because you're just wrestling royalty, so they have a lot of catching up to do. Trust me on that. Last fan question I got from Whoopsie Guy, and he simply asked, Whoopsie Guy, trust me, he'll love this. Ask her if she is an Orange Cassidy fan.
Oh, yeah, actually, I think it's hilarious. I mean, obviously, I just think it's kind of hilarious. It's kind of hilarious.
I love his whole gimmick. Like, literally, it's like, I know that gimmicks have been made before in the past, and there's so many like fun gimmicks, but his is just on a different level. Like the fact that he can put his hands in his pockets and everyone can react with just a slight kick, and everyone reacts, "Way!" And I'm thinking, like, he's got it on the money.
Ridiculous. But that's what wrestling is ridiculous. The fact when I saw him and Sting doing it back, I was like,
yeah. I was just like, yep, you can't beat it at this point. Viral moment of the century.
Yeah. Wrestling.
Yeah, this is wrestling. Yeah, that is literally that clip right there. Mickie, I want to absolutely thank you so much for your time. I was so excited to chat to you today, and what wrestling royalty you are, and it's been an absolute pleasure of mine. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And don't forget, you guys got to watch Empowerrr and get that bundle. You gotta support me, support the ladies. It's going to be awesome. NWA 73. I'm wrestling them next night, so make sure you get that one too. Are you coming to St. Louis? Obviously, you're from a very far distance away. So
I mean, if planes allow me to, then I will be there, but I will watch it in spirit, if anything, anyway.
Awesome.
I mean, I know you got more famous shit to do, so I won't hold you up much longer. If you could tell our audience where they can catch you on the socials. I mean, you mentioned about NWA, but what's coming up? Yeah. The floor is yours.
Oh, absolutely. You can follow me and everything that I'm doing. MickieJames.com can direct you to everything, all my platforms. It's all underneath there. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the things. And everything for Empowerrr and leading to that, you can go to nationalwrestlingalliance.com and find all their stuff, including tickets to the show or the bundle on pay-per-view exclusively on Fight TV. Yeah, stay posted. GAW TV, you can go to gawtv.com and follow all our stuff there. And yeah, all the things.
And so I just got to end it off and saying thank you so much. And in the way of Orange Cassidy, thank you so much, Mickie James. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, sweet.
All right. You too. Thank you so much.